Hi, my name's Aiden.
And I'm Jake.
And welcome to History and Haunts. Happy Friday!
Happy Friday.
We're back. We decided that Friday's a good day to release our episodes every week. Or I decided.
Yeah, that sounds good to me, man.
I just figure, Monday or Friday. Monday, it's the start of the week. This gives you something to listen to on a Monday. Or Friday, now you've made it through the week and you have a podcast episode to listen to. Who doesn't like that?
You know what? Didn't I decide Friday, actually?
Actually, you did. You did. I was just going to take credit for it.
I just told her Friday so she would stop asking me what day.
Yeah, you did. But you know what? I think Friday's good.
That's as good a day as any of them.
Well, anyway, we're back with episode 2 of History and Haunts. And this week we are going way back in time. I told you this place was really old last week and not in America, right?
That's right. That's right. You did say that.
I did. And this week we're going all the way back to I think 1150 BC.
Yes.
Or 1150 AD, sorry.
Didn't you just say that, though? Didn't you just say 1150?
Did I? I don't know. Maybe I did.
I don't know.
We'll have to hear when we listen back. And we're also going across the ocean to my favorite place, even though I've never been there. Do you know what it is?
I'm guessing Scotland.
Yeah, Scotland, home of James Alexander, Malcolm Mackenzie Fraser.
Land of the free, home of the brave, am I right?
No, that's the U.S. But Scotland is home to Outlander, and I love Outlander.
Wasn't Harry Potter filmed there as well?
Yeah, they have that that bridge,
Yeah.
that the train goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Unless that's the other
Hogwarts
movie.
Express?
Yes, that one. Yeah. Anyway, this is not about Hogwarts. This is about the Dryburgh Abbey. And I just want to...
As exciting. It's just as exciting.
It is. And I just want to preface this with saying there's a lot of words in here that may be a little hard to pronounce. So I'm going to do my best. I meant to look up how to say them, and I looked up about 2 of them and forgot to do the rest. So, fingers crossed, my pronunciation is on point.
I'm pretty sure you took a nap.
Not today. I've been busy.
As you were looking these up, I'm pretty sure you were asleep.
Well, napping is one of my favorite hobbies. But today I did not get to take a nap, unfortunately. I thought about it, like taking one after I record this podcast. But at that point, it'll be like, what, 5:30? And
I don't even know anymore.
I feel like after 5, there's no nap
It's
time.
already dark almost.
I know. A daylight savings time happened, guys, for those of you who participate in daylight savings time.
I ate lunch like an hour ago, and the sun's going down.
I know. What the heck? The sun, it doesn't help that it's raining right now. Very stormy. But,
yep.
Yeah.
Air off, fan off.
Yeah, can't have any
off.
noise. We're hoping
to
reduce the noise. The cat's still being annoying today. You don't have to talk about sweating in every episode.
That's why I stopped talking about it. I realize
no one wants to hear that.
No one wants to hear that.
All right, moving on. I know they do want to hear about the Dryburgh Abbey, which not only does this location have an abbey, it also has a hotel, and it's located in Melrose along the Scottish borders.
That's cool. What's an abbey?
It's like the place where the monks lived back in the day. Or like...
Is that like a hotel or something?
No, it's like a religious building.
Is it? Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Very cool. This place has so much history, it's literally insane how much history is here. Because before there was an abbey there and all that, they thought that it might be a place of druidical worship. And the Druids were around a long time ago. Also, side note, I don't know if anyone ever watched Merlin. Did you ever watch Merlin?
I've never even heard of it.
It's a great TV show. I'm pretty sure they took it off of Netflix, and that was like the worst decision Netflix ever made.
That was the worst decision they ever made.
Yes. Merlin was an amazing show, and there was definitely druids in Merlin. It's about like King Arthur and stuff. It's a great show.
Sounds cool. Yeah.
I need to
cool.
find it.
When was it made?
What
was the year?
Dude, a long time ago, because I watched it when I was probably like 10.
Oh, okay.
So, anyway, enough about Merlin. There's a whole lot of mystery surrounding the history of the druids, just because they were around so long ago, and unfortunately, a lot of the like historical documentation that we have of them were from their enemies, so it's not always accurate when your only source is the enemies.
Yeah.
But they're thought to be part of the Celtic and Gaulish culture. They are polytheistic, much like the Greeks. So that means they worship like multiple different gods, not just one. They also had female gods and sacred figures. They were nomadic, so they kind of moved around and they really kind of lived their lives around like the nature's cycles.
Hmm.
So that was like one of the reasons why they moved around. And they were
So they're
described
kind of like hippies, moving all around, huh?
maybe like very religious hippies, you know,
Yeah,
they moved around to worship and whatnot.
I
But
respect it.
yeah, they were cool. They were described as less civilized, and I put civilized in air quotes because I think the people that called them less civilized were, again, their enemies and just didn't understand and didn't like them, you know? So I don't really think they were less civilized. The first reference to them was in 2nd century BC. Do you know how long ago that was? Like a long, long time
Second
ago.
century BC.
That was like go all the way back to year zero and then add 200 more years.
So it's like negative years.
Basically.
Interesting.
So
I
long.
wonder why that was a thing. Why did they start? Why did they start in the negative years?
Well, because it's before Christ and after death. Now they call it something else, but I don't know what they call it. I know BC and AD stand for something else now, but I always remember it as before Christ and after death. So it has to do with like religion,
Jeez,
basically.
man, that is very
How did I
boring.
know that
That
and
is
you
so
don't?
boring, man. Who cares, man?
It's just the way that they classify things, I guess. It's crazy how long ago though.
Was
Like how
that
many
when was the
years?
dinosaurs? When was that? As a perspective for
Oh
me.
God. Let me look that up. How long ago were the dinosaurs? They were like millions of years ago.
That's what I'm
Millions.
saying. But like,
252 to 66 million
yes,
years
yes,
ago.
yes. But I'm saying, was that in like the BC time? We talking AD time? What are we
BC
talking?
BC time. Because that's how it goes backwards. Like rather than saying 66 million to 252 million, they say 252 to 66
So
million.
are we in 2024 AD right now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Our years are going forward. And you know, back in the day the years went forward for them too, but we just remember them or we talk about them as backwards.
Hmm.
Anyway, back to the Druids, I guess. I don't know how we got to dinosaurs. So the Druids were very concerned with the natural world and its powers. They were very, very focused on that. They, like I said, they lived their life around the nature cycles. They considered trees to be sacred, especially the oak tree. They observed the lunar, solar, and seasonal cycles, and they also worshipped according to like 8 main holy days based around the cycles. Their places of worship were quiet and secluded areas like the forests and the stone circles. You know about them stone circles?
I do? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was reading one article, they like weren't sure if the Druids built the stone circles or if they just worshipped there, but either way
Yeah.
they at
The
least went.
aliens.
So, who knows? There's probably so many theories. I don't know how people would get those stones up. It's crazy.
I have no idea.
Yeah. The Druids really believed in the interconnectedness of all things. They thought everything was connected, especially with nature. So they honored their ancestors, they believed in reincarnation, they believed in fortune telling, and this is not very well documented. Um, but some sources do say that they also sacrificed humans and animals on occasion. But again, these sources are very one-sided, and there are not really any accounts from the Druids themselves that say that they participated in sacrifice. So the name Dryburgh comes from the Celtic word Duroc, Bruach. I don't know if I'm saying that
Okay.
right. And that means the bank of the sacred grove of oaks. So bringing it back full circle. The Druids, they really loved the oak tree, and this word means the sacred grove of oaks. Isn't that cool?
Wow. That is something.
I know. Now we're going to jump 800 years forward to 600 AD, and that is when the first Christian worship was recorded or believed to have occurred at this location. There was a missionary named Saint Modin who chose this loop in the River Tweed for a church. However, there's no physical evidence that has been found that there actually was a church there. This is just what is said. Some writings show that he was a follower of Saint Columba, and they described him as being the abbot of Dryburgh in 622 AD. Long time ago. So I looked up who Saint Columba was. He was an Irish missionary who spread Christianity into present-day Scotland. He is the patron saint of Scotland and one of 3 patron saints of Ireland. And he's also the patron saint of poets and bookbinders. That's crazy.
Say that one time.
He's the patron saint of poets and bookbinders.
What does that even mean? He's the patron. I can't even say it.
Patron saint. A patron
so
saint.
He's the creator? He's the creator of poems? Is that what I'm
No, I believe patron saints, they there's like certain ones assigned to everything, you know? So like patron saint of moms or patron saints of bankers or cat lovers or something. And they're assigned like to be like guardians over certain groups of people. So he was the assigned guardian of poets and bookbinders.
in a sense that like he was like the CIA towards them and didn't let their little their little poems.
It's like who they would pray to for protection, basically.
So it's their god.
No, definitely not the God. Because this is Christianity, so they're monotheistic, meaning they just pray to God. Or they just believe in God. Listen, I'm not religious. This is my understanding of it. But then the patron saints are like people who were alive at one point and sainted and now they're dead, and you can pray to them and be like, hey man, I'm a poet and I need some help. So then he would pray to Saint Columba. This episode is a lot of religion. So I had to do a lot of research on that because I don't really know much about it. Back to Dryburgh Abbey. So the abbey itself was founded in 1150 by Hugh de Morville, and it was built for the this is a really long word.
Let me see it. I got it.
See. That word with the P.
Premonstratensian.
I was going to say premonstratensian. Anyway, the abbey was built for the premonstratensian canons.
You've done your homework before.
There's too many big words.
I just went like
red for me.
Blind.
Oh.
Like trying to read that. Oh. That's how bad that word is.
It's a long word. Anyway, it was built for those canons of Alnwick Priory and Northumberland. So canons, in case anyone was wondering, canons are Catholic priests who live in communities with other priests in a religious order, and they typically perform clerical duties while living.
Clerical duties?
Yeah.
Are we talking?
No, we're talking about like bookkeeping, I don't know, running the finances. No one can see you. He's making...
They know.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. They perform their duties while living there. So, this premonstratensian canons, they are a member of an order of canons founded by Saint Norbert at Premontre, near Lyon, France. Hence the name. Because Premontre kind of is like in the spelling of that word that's really hard to say. These people were established in 1120 and they were not far from where the abbey was. So, Hugh de Morville, who founded this abbey, invited English canons despite his Scottish title because he has roots in England. And it sounds like he was kind of a nice guy because a lot of other rich landowners, they would like endorse an abbey just so that they got prayers, you know? They were like, here's my money, pray for me. But Hugh de Morville, he took on a role within the abbey and even became a novice at Dryburgh before dying in 1162. So he did not just give money. He was very involved. The abbey took a long time to be built. It was under construction for quite some time, with the church not being finished until the early 1200s. But I guess when you don't have like electrical... Sorry guys, my dog just sneezed insanely loud. And it just cracks
Doesn't
me up.
sneeze all day.
But she did this last time too. She decided to sneeze once we were recording. I don't know, like maybe she's allergic to us podcasting.
I'll I'll take her out back.
No, it's frightening. Anyway, back to the podcast. Um, so as I was saying, it was under construction for a long time, but like they didn't have electrical tools to help them. That probably slowed down the process. Nowadays we got,
DeWalt,
tractors, yeah, DeWalt. We got all sorts of stuff.
Harbor Freight brand, whatever
Yeah,
that is.
I don't know. The abbey was never super wealthy or influential, and the monastic life there was pretty quiet, but it did go through a lot. Like this abbey's been through it. Starting in the year 1320, Brother Marcus punched the abbey and was expelled. That was like the first bad thing that happened. Maybe he brought the bad juju, you know? He just,
He knocked down the wall of this church?
yeah, he punched it. You're not allowed to do that. That's disrespectful, man.
Why would he do that? Reap what he sows. He
Maybe
probably broke his hand.
he's probably an asshole. Why would he punch this beautiful building?
He was probably upset over something.
Maybe he was upset about how long it was taking to construct it, you know?
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know.
That's all I got.
Anyway, I think he brought the bad juju, and now everything's gone downhill because of him. So, there was this little thing going on called the Scottish Wars of Independence between 1296 and 1346, and it was a series of conflict between England and Scotland. And in the year of 1322, the English army was led by King Edward II, and he raided the Scottish lowlands. So, this war, like the part of it that we're discussing in relation to the Abbey, was called the Battle of Byland, and it was a Scottish victory, so woohoo, go Scotland. It was between King Edward II of England and King Robert, who was known as the Bruce the First. King Edward had invaded in August of 1322, but he had to retire and go south because he was like super tired, super hungry, and everyone had a disease. He made headquarters at the Dryburgh Abbey after getting some new forces. They were fed, they weren't sick, they weren't tired, I guess.
What were these forces? What were these people for?
They were for King Edward
So
of
pretty much he
England.
just got a new army, and
Yeah,
that's what they held up in that church.
yeah. There he got some new people. He called them up and said, "Hey man, we need some more people. Get down here
For what?
to fight."
Like if need be?
Nah, because everyone else was tired. So he,
Okay.
he needed some refreshed people, you know? So
There's a
there's
lot going on here. I'm just having a hard time keeping up.
listen, there's a lot going on because we had to go back all the way to 1150, you know? This is like what, 900 years of history we're covering? It's a lot. So King Robert, and that's Robert the Bruce, who was fighting King Edward. He crossed the border of Carlisle on October 1st of 1322, and he caught King Edward off guard. So that then October 14th, in the early morning, the Scottish people arrived at Sutton Bank, and the English army was there, but they were strong and alert. They were ready to go this time.
Why
So
do they want King Edward to die? What's wrong with King Edward?
King Edward is fighting the people of Scotland, because he doesn't want to give them their independence, but they want their independence. Obviously, like kings don't want to give up territory, and he'd have to give up territory to give them their independence. So that's why they're fighting. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay. So October 14th, they start fighting hand to hand, and the Scots try to force their way up, but they kind of did a good job, I guess, because the English they eventually had to give in and they retreated. But during the retreat, they were real shitheads and they destroyed 3 abbeys, killing the Melrose Abbey abbot and several monks, and they also burned down the Dryburgh Abbey. Can you believe that?
I just can't even believe it.
That's so
3 of them?
Yeah, 3. They burned down 3. I guess they were really mad that they lost, you know? The abbey suffered attacks again and more burnings in 1385, 1461, and 1523. It's like I said, this abbey's been through it. On November 4th, 1544, so we're jumping way in the way, like what is that, 300 years?
1523 to
What's 5?
1544 is only like 20 years.
No. No, 1322 to 1544. I think that's 222 years. Yeah, it is. So 222 years in the future we're jumping. 700 English troops, on horseback, they decided to do a raid along the border and they destroyed the town and the abbey. So, as you can imagine, the abbey was like constantly in a state of being rebuilt. They'd build it, it would get destroyed. They'd build it, it would get destroyed. Just, it's an endless circle.
Hmm.
So,
Well, no wonder it's still standing today. It's been reinforced like 8 times.
I know, it's crazy. When you go there, you can actually see like pockmarks caused by musket balls along some of the walls. So, the Protestant Reformation came along in 1560, and that ended the monastic life because they were like, no, we're going to be Protestant now, and these guys are Catholic. So only 8 monks or canons lived at the abbey by 1560, and by 1584, only two brothers were alive. They were allowed to like live out their life there, but no new monks were coming. So by 1600, everyone died. And after that, the abbey was left to just go into a state of ruins. Now we're jumping all the way to 1786 because nothing really happened with the abbey until that time. And at this time, David Erskine, the 11th Earl of Buchanan, acquired the abbey and began to preserve the ruins. He really wanted to make like the gardens look like they were back in the day, and he really wanted to make this place look nice. So he planted a lot of trees, he made the garden. There's actually one yew tree there that is well over 900 years old. So he obviously didn't plant that, but that's an old ass tree.
Yeah, that is that even possible?
I guess so. 900.
900 years for a
900.
tree.
Yeah, it's old. Super fucking old. This man who bought it, the Earl of Buchan, he died in 1829 and was laid to rest here in the sacristy, which is the room where a priest prepares for service, and that's also like a place where they store shit for worship. He also had a friend named Sir Walter Scott who was buried there in 1832 and is located like in the north part of the abbey. There was a third burial in 1929. Field Marshal Douglas Haig was buried beside Walter Scott. And while they've been like renovating this place, they found several other graves. Can you imagine just like renovating a place and there's some graves? That's like a dream. How cool would that be?
You digging them up?
No, letting them rest in peace.
So you want to build a hot tub on your back porch.
Hmm.
You start construction. 3 unmarked graves right there in the spot where the hot tub goes.
The hot tub's going somewhere else now.
And then what are we doing with the graves?
Dude, I've always wanted to own a cemetery. It's like a dream of mine to own a property that has a cemetery. I'd become the cemetery caregiver of those 3 unmarked graves.
So you'd put like an iron fence around it,
Yeah,
right in the middle of our porch.
yes. They were there first.
You're just gonna ruin the structural integrity of our home for these 3 nameless men.
I'm not knocking down the house. We're just saying, "Hey man, there's some graves here and they deserve to rest peacefully and have
That's
respect."
understandable.
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
cool.
I mean, he could be buried with his entire life's fortune of
That's called grave robbing, and I'm pretty sure that's a crime.
400 gold coins.
Oh my gosh. No. We're not digging him up. That's one way to get your ass haunted. You trying to get us to have a haunted house? No?
No,
Yeah, so we're
no,
not digging up any
it's
graves.
doing that.
Yeah. The Halliburton family used the north side of the abbey as their burial ground as well, and the chapter house floor has 2 clear outlines of coffins. So it kind of sounds like there's just bodies all over this place. All over this place.
And they're unmarked, right?
No, some of them are, some of them
Oh,
aren't. What's that song about bodies?
let the bodies hit the floor.
Let the bodies hit the floor. That's what they were doing here, just burying the bodies everywhere, letting them hit the floor 6 feet
I think you just
underneath.
wanted to sing that song
I
because
did.
that has nothing to do with burying the bodies.
Kind of tied it in kind of well, don't you think?
Not at all.
Okay.
I cringed
Oh my
heavily.
gosh. I'm sure I'll cringe when I listen to it. So today there is sadly very little left of the abbey. It's mostly ruins. The church is gone, but you can kind of get a good idea of what everyday life was like for the monks. There's also a hotel located on 11 private acres on an estate located on River Tweed as well. So that's cool. But I wonder why they decided to like build a hotel there, you know?
In this church?
No, it's adjacent to the historical ruin, so it's like next to it.
Oh.
Maybe they just liked being on the
Well,
river.
probably because it takes you, a day and a half hike up to get there, so you need a place to sleep
Yeah,
to
maybe.
look at this old church and hope it is structurally
Hope it's
intact
still there.
and that you do not get crushed
Oh my
and
gosh.
added to the grave. If that thing crushes you, you get to be buried there next to all the other people.
That'd be kind of cool. The hotel is actually built on a site of a much older house, and the history of the hotel goes that it was built in 1845 as a private residence for the family of Lady Grizel. In 1875, it was modernized by her brother, and it stayed in the family's possession until 1929 when it was bought and converted into its current state as a hotel. So, with all the history, attacks, and burials, it's easy to see why this place could be haunted. But there's really only two accounts of any haunted happenings going on. So kind of underwhelming, especially since there's
Well, it's a
like
place of worship. It's not really
that's true.
like a place to haunt.
You know what? You bring up a very good point. I've never thought of that. I just thought with 900 years of history, lots of deaths, lots of being burned down, there might be some more like hauntings. But maybe the place of worship kind of,
Yeah,
makes everyone
there's a
respect it.
building full of forgiveness and you know,
Yeah,
for
totally.
cleanse me of my sins type building. That there's nobody unhappy in there, man.
Okay, good point.
Their lives are cured by the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Maybe,
Maybe not exactly Jesus Christ, but of somebody.
yeah.
Whatever the hell you were talking about earlier about poems being read and shit or whatever
Oh
you.
my
I don't know idea
God.
what you said.
Let's get back to the hauntings. So, there was the Gray Lady of Dryburgh. The story goes that there is a 16th century woman who lived in the original house near the Abbey. So where the hotel is built.
There was a house there prior,
Yes, I said that.
and that's what I'm asking. But who got the rights to put the house right there?
I don't know, but it was in the 1500s, so like were they really worried about who owns this land back in the day?
No, they're probably Minecrafting it out, man. Just
Uh,
build where you please.
this is very off topic. Like there's no way to relate this to what I'm about to say. But do you ever get confused with numbers? Because just hear
What?
me out. Sometimes when I hear the number like 1500, I have trouble like thinking of it not as 3 p.m. When I hear 1500, I just think 3 p.m.
Listen, listen.
So when I
Just
see a
because you were in the Marine,
no, Josh.
just because you were in a Marine class for 3 weeks and then dropped the program because you couldn't do a pull-up, it does not mean you have any authority to be talking about
Okay.
military time here, cadet.
You know nurses use military time, right? That's why I think about it. Not because of my 3 week stint with the
All right,
Marines.
Marine, relax. All
Stop.
right.
But yeah, anytime I hear 1500, I think of three, not five. So then I just have trouble with the math. But maybe I'm
I'm
just
starting to
weird.
sweat because I don't know what you're talking about, and it's stressing me out.
Well, we'll get back to the story then. So as I was saying, this lady lived in the house, the original house near the Abbey, but we don't know her name because it's lost to history. We do know that she fell in love with the monk, although some sources say that it may have been a clergyman. And the love affair continued, but somebody in the abbey found out. And I don't know if you know this, but monks aren't allowed to like have a relationship with people.
Yeah.
That
But you know what their downfall is? They're only human.
Yeah. So this monk though, they didn't care that he was only human. They sentenced him to death for breaking his religious vows.
Do people live in this religious building?
They did back in the day, yeah.
Okay.
So the monk was hung in view of the woman's house. Isn't that terrible? They really just gave her a slap in the face.
I bet you, I'll tell you what, I bet she never dated another one of them men again.
No, she didn't because she killed herself.
Well, that's probably the other reason.
Yeah. She was so distraught that she threw herself off a bridge and into the River Tweed. And the hotel is now built on the place where she lived. So some people
So
who,
they destroyed her house after she killed herself.
well, we gotta keep in mind that the house was built in the 1500s, so who knows what state it was in. They built
Because they
this,
built the hotel 300 years later?
yeah.
Okay.
So maybe there was just ruins of a house. Who knows?
Makes sense.
Yeah. People who stay in the hotel often report seeing her like wandering along the banks or the grounds of the abbey, and even in the hotel in a gray dress and crying. A lot of haunted things, like they'll get stronger during renovations, and she definitely did. She would mess with the tools and equipment. She would move them around and just like fuck them up so they couldn't use them. So she was kind of a menace, I guess. The manager of the hotel says that he sometimes feels as if someone is behind him, even though no one is there.
Hmm.
The other haunting is just the monks of the abbey. This haunting is pretty minimal, but if you are on grounds at dusk or at night times, there's sometimes reports of like seeing the monks walking around the ruins chanting and singing. Sounds kind of creepy, honestly.
Wow.
But yeah. Now, this is not necessarily a haunting, but it's a creepy story that I found on the internet. Um, well, actually in a book, but I found the book on the internet.
Does it say fat lips?
Yes, the story is called Fat Lips, and it was published in the Scottish Fairy and Folk Tales by George Douglas in 1901. You ready to hear the story?
I'm so intrigued by this
Story.
word here, so please continue.
Okay. About 50 years ago, an unfortunate female wanderer took up her residence in a dark vault among the ruins of the Dryburgh Abbey, which during the day she never quitted. When night fell, she issued from this miserable habitation and went to the house of Mr. Haliburton of Newmains, or to that of Mr. Erskine of Sheffield, two gentlemen of the neighborhood. From their charity she obtained such necessities as she could be prevailed upon to accept. At 12 each night she lighted her candle and returned to her vault, assuring her friendly neighbors that during her absence her habitation was arranged by a spirit, to whom she gave the uncouth name of Fat Lips, describing him as a little man wearing heavy iron shoes, which he trampled the clay floor of the vault to dispel the damps. The circumstance caused her to be regarded by the well informed with compassion, as deranged in her understanding, and by the vulgar with some degree of terror. The cause of her adopting this extraordinary mode of life she would never explain. It was, however, believed to have been occasioned by a vow that, during the absence of a man to whom she was attached, she would never look upon the sun. Her lover never returned. He fell during the Civil War of 1745, and she never more would behold the light of day. The vault, or rather dungeon, in which this unfortunate woman lived and died, passes still by the name of the supernatural being with which its gloom was tenanted by her disturbed imagination, and few of the neighboring peasants dare to enter it by night. The Civil War he's talking about, I believe, is the Jacobite uprising of 1745.
So this girl would come out at nighttime
Mm-hmm.
and go to her two boyfriends' house,
Two gentlemen.
and then would return in the morning
With some supplies.
of like food and water and stuff.
Yeah, because she wasn't allowed to leave during the day, or because she gave a vow.
And is it because she's imprisoned or this is her home?
So she just took up residence here, and she made a vow
And it was an abandoned location
at the Abbey. Yeah, that we were talking about.
at the Abbey.
Yeah, the building that we've been
The
talking
building
about
we've been talking about this whole time.
this whole
That I've
time.
been referring to as a religious building because
Yes,
I can't remember the name of it to save my life.
Dryburgh Abbey. Yes, that's it. So she went there and basically, like, she made a vow to her. I'm assuming it was her husband that said, "If you're not with me, I won't see the daylight." But he never came back because he died during the Jacobite uprising.
Okay. And what? Okay. I mean, that's cool. I mean, it's pretty random
Yeah,
stories.
I know. Well, it was in this book from 1901. I thought it was kind of cool, but
That is pretty
it is
cool.
pretty random. I couldn't find any history about this, so it's probably just a story, that's told.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I have on the Dryburgh Abbey.
Oh, that's it, huh?
That's it.
Oh.
It has a lot of like history, but I had trouble like finding research on it, probably because it's so old, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it also sounds like it was like very uneventful for hundreds of years at a time.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Did you not hear how many times it got
Dude,
burnt down?
you're jumping like hundreds of years
I did.
in which any point of significance happened.
I think at one point I jumped like, what, 500 years?
50 years
Yeah.
to 500 years.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised. And you know what else, dude? That's a pretty, there's probably still like books and journals that are undiscovered in a location like that.
Yeah.
They're probably all in that lady's house they destroyed, and they probably didn't even take a chance to look around at her bookshelf, see,
Maybe that's why
fat
she's
lips on the shelf, or something like
my
that.
God.
It's probably something.
Probably. So do you want a hint for next week's episode?
Let me hear it.
It's a place with water, and it's super haunted. Supposedly. Not super duper old.
What year are we talking?
1770s. For the first recorded history. But yeah, body of water. I said body of water? Yeah, body of water.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it's in the U.S.
I know. Is it in Florida?
No.
Oh, never mind. I don't know
it's not in Florida. Okay, guys. Well, that's all I have for you today. Unless you have anything to add, Jake.
I have nothing to add. That was very informative. The Abbey. I don't.
It's beautiful. Wait till you see the pictures.
Yeah, I'd love to see this place.
Oh, we'll be going.
Because I have this own image in my head of a dilapidated building with, those like buildings in Aladdin that are very rounded at the top.
Yeah.
With like a small ball.
Yeah.
That's
what you picture?
It looks like something like that.
It doesn't look like that. I'll show you pictures, and we'll post them on Instagram.
All right.
So you can find us on Spotify, also YouTube now. Whoop whoop. We're on Instagram at History and Haunts Podcast. We also have Gmail. We'd love to hear from you with, what is it? Questions? Comments? Concerns? Experiences? Recommendations? Really, whatever. And the email is historyandhauntspodcast@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
And on Spotify, if you could rate, review, subscribe, comment, and turn on notifications, we'd love you forever.
Oh my God.
I know it's a lot to ask.
Make you some coffee too after?
I actually don't like coffee.
Fold your laundry?
That would be nice.
No, I do that.
I fold my... He's lying. Well, I do all the dishes, so whatever.
She's lying about that too.
I make the bed. If I didn't make the bed,
this bed is not made today. We are sitting in an unmade bed.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyway, until next time, guys. Bye.
Yep. See ya.